it says here more offsprings are being produced more than the environment can support. So naturally, more and more offsprings are being produced by organisms that cannot be really supported by the environment or by the ecosystem. So this phenomenon or this event is actually resulting to competition. So if there are more and more organisms being produced and resources, and the resources are decreasing, then therefore these organisms will end up competition. So more or less, if there is competition, this would actually level off the population. So the next area, okay, that we need to discuss is the consequence of overpopulation. Okay, actually, the consequence of overpopulation is also related to the previous topic that that I have mentioned a while ago about carrying capacity, wherein if more and more organisms are being produced, more than the environment can sustain, then it can lead to competition. We just need to look for the correlation for this one. Okay, so the next area that we need to discuss is about variation. So since that the students have a background about genetics already, then we can say that variation can lead to evolution as well. So in the case of variation, when more and more genes that are being passed on to several generations, it actually gives us more variety in the types of genes or in the types of in the types of characteristics that is supposed to be passed on to the next generation. So we have to include the specific processes in meiosis that will promote variation. So, of course, evolution, okay, will not be evolution if we are not able to discuss about natural selection. Okay, so this area, this is a topic or a concept that we need to discuss about to our students, because in the case of natural selection, we can always revert to the adage, survival of the fittest. Of course, if the organism has a more favorable characteristics that would enable this organism to withstand or to survive in a certain condition, then this characteristic or this trait would be considered as a desirable trait, and it is possible that this trait will be transferred or that will be inherited by the offsprings. Okay, so of course, the weaker the characteristics are, then they're most likely going to be selected, or they're going to be not really selected, but they're going to face death in that sense. So okay, we have to give examples as well, so that students would be able to see the essence of natural selection. So lastly, now we need to discuss under evolution is the antibiotic resistance of bacteria. Okay, so we just need to discuss the significance of the antibiotic resistant gene that is being produced by a bacterium, which enables the bacterium to resist any enzyme that actually kills it. Okay, so whenever a specific group of bacterium has this gene, then this antibiotic resistant gene will be passed on to the next generation. Okay, so it is actually an example of or an evidence for evolution. So that will be all for evolution. The next topic that we need to discuss under chapter 5 is classification. So basically classification is a process of assigning names to organisms. So we don't just assign names to organisms, but there is actually a specific science, or there is actually a systematic procedure on which we are able to give names to organisms. So first, we need to familiarize our students with the binomial system. So in the case of binomial system, this is the process of giving two names for each organism. So the two names are actually derived from the last two areas in the hierarchy of taxonomy, which is the genus and the species. So the scientific name of most organisms are derived from the genus and the species name. So in that sense, we are able to classify them according to their characteristics and according to their specific groups. So, okay, we have to discuss what a genus and a species is and their differences. Okay, so these are actually a part of the hierarchy of taxonomy. So we can, for example, in the case of humans are under the kingdom. In the case of hierarchy of taxonomy, although it's not really required to both SL or HL students, okay, the hierarchy of taxonomy are made up of several levels. Okay, so organisms are all classified according to this hierarchy. So in the case of humans, we are named as Homo sapiens. Okay, so in the case of genus and species, there are characteristics that are common for most genus and species. They just need to know the difference between genus and species and how organisms are being named. So if we are able to provide examples, so for example, we have the humans that are given here. Okay, you can also make a comparison between the binomial system of a tiger and a lion. So let's just say we have a lion, Panthera leo, and we have a tiger, we have Panthera tigris. So by identifying what a genus is and what a species is, then we are able to compare and contrast these two types of organisms. Okay, so that's one of the most common examples. So, of course, classification would not be complete if students would not be able to recognize certain traits that are common for most organisms. So okay, so they need to recognize certain traits or certain features that are common for most plants and animals. So say, for HL students, they need to actually memorize like the several phyla of plants, and then they need to memorize as well the several phyla of invertebrates as well. Okay, so when they're able to recognize the traits, okay, the next area that they need to do is the use of dichotomous key. A dichotomous key is basically a method of identifying unknown organisms. So in exams, there are several questions there that are given to students that they're just given a picture, they're just given a photo of the organism, and then they just need to depend on the characteristics of the organisms that are being compared, that are actually being compared to. So once they're able to identify the features or the traits of those organisms, they should be able to form their dichotomous key. Whether, for example, if the plant have they contain a one whole what do you call this, leaf blade, or the leaf blade are subdivided into leaflets. Okay, so they should be able to like familiarize themselves with certain traits. Okay, so as we have mentioned in the previous point here. So once that we have achieved all of this, I think that will be all for both SL and HL students for classification.